Hi guys, today I'm gonna do it's the first video of a series of videos that I'm gonna do. So it's the first episode. I'm gonna do a series of video about just showing details, what I'm doing in to learn drawings, to learn portrait, to learn how to all the characteristics, all the little different elements, and to learn how to do portraits. So I'm gonna go more in detail on each episode. And each episode's gonna be one subject. I'm gonna focus on one subject. So yeah. So just to let you know. And today I'm gonna do I'm not necessarily gonna do the most important first, but I'm gonna do some of the ones that are like pretty crucial, like pretty basic, the ones that I really need to know. I'm gonna start with them. So today I'm gonna do mostly like the shadows and contrast, because this is really important to know. And remember, this I'm doing portraits, but only based on a photo. So I'm looking at a photo. So I'm not doing like a portrait based on looking at a real person. So that's really different. So I'm gonna focus on your reference photo. You have to look like for the contrast and the light and the shadows and the difference in shadows and contrast. Like I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna show you some examples. So this is pretty important. So let's go first episode. Let's go. So first I just want to show you an examples that the colors and tones that you see are not necessarily the real ones. It depends of what is the color next to it. So here I just take this color, for example, this tone, and I take a sample of it, blow it up. Then I change the background, and if I move this picture and I copy it and move it on the other side, you see that the left one looks brighter than the image on the left, looks lighter than the one on the right. The one on the right looks darker, but it's the same tone, the same colors. So because the background changes, so it's the same effect. Like this one, the middle rectangle is the same color, like it doesn't change. So these are just optical illusions that you have to be aware. So to start, I'm just gonna show some examples. I'm in Photoshop here, and I'm gonna show you some example of different shadows and contrast. Because when I'm talking about contrast, I mean like find the darkest place on the portrait and see the contrast that you have. So here it's really dark, it's pretty much black. And you see the contrast here is pretty high, so there's big difference of color here. But here, it's really close here. This tone here, it's almost as black as this, but not quite. So we have to understand the contrast here. And it happens everywhere. Like here, for example, there's shadows. And in the eyes, like for example, here I'm gonna use black around here, this line. And here I'm gonna use really dark colors like dark gray or dark brown to really get close to this black, but not quite. So you have to understand, not every photo is like this, but I'm gonna show you other examples that don't have shadows like this. But if you're beginner, it's a little harder to draw a picture like this because of the shadows and everything. Gonna show you other pictures that are easier to do, but just so you understand. So here I have a color picker here, so I put like a white rectangle here to reference from white. So I click it because when I'm drawing, the background is white. This is not the case here, but I want to reference from white to have an idea. So you see here, I can see below the below portion is white, and the portion above is black. It's the color that I'm picking, so I can compare it when I'm drawing. This helped me sometimes. I use it less now, but I mean sometimes if I want to get an idea of the color, I just go around like this and I can get an idea, because I'm drawing on the white paper, so I need to compare it with white. Because when you compare a color to another color, it changes your perception. Like here is black, or pretty much black, and this is like a skin tone, and if this would be white, this would look different. It would probably look darker than it is, but because it's next to black, it looks lighter. We have to understand that it's not what your eyes see that's gonna be like, oh, okay, it looks lighter, it is, or here it looks white and here it looks white, but it's not white. So it's just lighter, but it's not exactly white. I can show you right now. So you see it's a really light peach, or really light color here too. You see it's close to white, but it's not exactly. So I just want to show you here the difference. It's just pretty much black here, then you go here, it's not a big difference. You see this is pretty much like dark brown with dark gray. This is black. So when you do your drawing, me recently I started doing my drawing. I mean, the last drawing that I did, I started with the hair. The model had dark hair, like dark brown something. So I started with that. So and then I applied the shadows, because when I start, but I'm not necessarily gonna do it on every video, but when I start with that, I know where's my darkest spot. Like I know that I'm not gonna go darker than that, so then I just go lighter here, because when I start drawing with doing all the face, lighter part, and I do all the face, and then I go to the dark hair, for example, then I realize after, oh, when I do the dark hair, I realize that I did the whole portrait too light, didn't put dark enough, and I didn't put enough contrast. So I realized that after, and then I have to go back, and then this wouldn't be too dark enough. For example, I will add black on top of it. I'll add more shading on top. But by starting with the darkest place and really dark as at first, then I know like what the rest gonna be. I have a better idea that the rest gonna be light, and this is gonna be pretty much the same as here. So I know this one is gonna be like this. You know, this shadow is gonna be close to this. This shadow is gonna be, as soon as I did the shadow, I can apply this shadow everywhere, like here, everywhere, even here, under here, here. So I apply this shadow that I did first and apply it everywhere, and then I add some like for example shell pink here for the light skin tone, and white, a little bit of white on top of it just to lighten it a little bit, but it's still gonna be shell pink. It's gonna be completely white. So yeah. So sorry for this picture is not high resolution, but I have other ones also. But this is a really good drawings to do, because it has some really good shadows on it. I'm gonna move to another picture. I think it's the same model. So you see here the difference is bigger. You see it's not as dark. See it's really dark here, but here it's not as dark. So you're gonna have more color here. You're gonna have more of the skin tone here, and less of the dark brown or dark gray on top. So just if I see the comparison, it's pretty much black, and then you already have like almost like a light brown almost, and then it goes to the skin tone. This is just light, but so it's just about, when you see these shadows, it's just about like blending a lot. So here it's more like a gradient. It goes from darker to lighter, but progressively. But here it's more abrupt. it changes quickly. Like the gradient is not as long. So for here, for example, you will and also here you will apply a darker color here. You'll probably mix some pink or something. Like me, I use nectar to mix it here to give some color a little bit, because it still has some color. Still have some colors, mostly brown, but I see there's some pink a little bit in it. So you see that it's much darker here. So obviously, but you have to, like this mix here, it's really like you apply your pencil over it many times and you mix it. But here you apply it a little bit and you mix it a little bit here, but quickly changes. So it's a different kind of gradient. But yeah, if I compare this stone with this, yeah, I can see that this is lighter here. This shadow is lighter than here, but you don't need to be that precise. I mean, depends, but me, I do the same shadow here as here. Okay, we have another picture here. Okay, so here again, shadow, you see this is pretty much black, and you see there's not a big difference here. So when you apply it, for example, you would apply like really dark brown, or you will mix it with dark gray here, or espresso also. You'll mix it here a lot, but you have to have your black first. That's the thing, that don't start making this shadow without doing the black first. That's one thing that it really helps you, that if you start doing this shadow without doing black first, you're gonna do this shadow and then you're gonna realize when you're gonna start applying the black, you're gonna realize that this is not dark enough. I mean, this happens to me. I don't know for you, but if I don't do this black first and I start applying shadows here, as soon as I apply black, I see, oh, okay, it's not dark enough. I see a big contrast with the black. I see that it's too light compared to the black. So I apply the black here, and then I was like, okay, and I add more black on top of it. Then I mix it, black, especially at the edge here. I mix a lot of black because I know the contrast is really low here. It's a really low contrast, so I want to blend it, like to make it almost look black, but not quite. The shadows change a lot here, because you have really dark here, but here you still have really dark but lighter here. So it's like it changes, because here you can see all of this, like for example, starts here, goes down here, all of this is shadows. Okay, all of the left part of her face, but for us it's the right part of her face, like all of this. Okay, all of this is shadow except some places, but I mean it changes. Okay, like this part is not as dark as here, of course, but what I would do here, I will do shadows everywhere. I mean I will apply black first, and I will do shadows here to match this contrast that I see here, all here. And then when I will come here, of course I'll do a gradient here, and then when I will come here, like this shadow here will be like a dark brown or something, but then here I will start applying some black, but I'm not gonna press hard here on the black. Like all of this gonna be first the same color at first. When I'm gonna start all of this, it's gonna be like this dark brown, but as soon as I'm gonna get here, I'm gonna apply black on top of it, but not pressing hard, just to get that area darker. And then I will blend it, this color I will blend it with that one a little bit. So it's all about like mixing all kind of colors together, darker, black. You just mix everything that you see, because when you apply black, you don't necessarily mean it to be black. You just apply it on top of another color, so it's gonna be darker version of the color underneath. One color here, but in fact it's this color that you see here that you apply it everywhere, and then you apply some white on top of it. You blend some white. So you see that here it's like a light peach. Same here. And here too. And the rest, you see the stone has a little bit of orange to it. So yeah, it's really a matter of applying your color and then apply another one on top of it. Just have layers. You just use layers. Like you just apply the first color, and then if it needs to be darker, you apply a darker color on top of it. And if it needs to be lighter, you apply a lighter color on top of it. Same here, same color everywhere, but you add white on top here. But the more layers you do, the more refined it's gonna look, and the better it's gonna look. And Prismacolor pencil are really good for layering. Okay, to another picture. So here you see that shadow is not as dark as the hair. You know, hair is really black, and then it's like a light brown already. So you can know the contrast here. And sometimes also you have some like other colors in the mix in, but you don't have to do them. Like here it's like a light purple here, but you don't have to do. You choose. If you just want to use white here, use whatever you want. Doesn't have to be, the colors that you use doesn't have to be exactly the same as the picture. You know, you can modify them, but it's just good when it's constant. When it's like the whole drawing is constant with like a few colors that you choose, instead of, it's not necessary to have exactly the same as the picture. So yeah, these shadows are not really dark, so just apply them. It's really smooth here, so it's really a large gradient here, darker and slowly getting lighter. So I'm gonna show another one. This one also just like shadows like before. You see I have almost black here, and then change really quickly here. But here, see, the shadow is not too dark, okay? You just have to understand the contrast, but you still will have to put like a lot of dark umber, dark brown, dark gray on top of it to getting close to black, or yeah. Like I said before, this shadow here is not too dark, but then it starts to get dark here. So you have to add. This is really fun to do when you have a single color. You apply a single color here, you mix it here, and then you add black on top of it here. It really lives up the drawing. It really like changes the drawing all of a sudden. As soon as you add black here, it really pops, like the 3D shows. Right? So gonna go another one. Okay, this one is an example of a really light skin tone, but also a light, like no shadows pretty much. So you really only have shadows underneath here that are close to black. So we have apply black everywhere, and then when you're on the skin, there's not big difference. See, I'm going everywhere. It's almost the same color everywhere. So these ones are easier to do when you're a beginner. Just apply the same color everywhere, and then just apply some white here, brown, apply some white here, some white on some spots. But these ones are easier to do. So there's not much going on the face, not much, like no shadows really, a little bit some places, but not much. So it has a high contrast, so it goes from really dark to light really quickly like this. Almost no blending, just a little bit on the edge, but it goes quickly. So high contrast like this is not too hard to do. And if you want an example of this kind of of drawing. You can see my Drake drawing above here. You can see the card above. I did this video was I mean, the portrait is really light. I mean, there's no not really any shadows on the face. And another example, just that there's not a big difference everywhere. It's the same color almost everywhere, you see. So you just have to add a little bit of dark here. I mean, like, not even that dark, just you see the difference from here to here. It's not that big. Just apply like a beige sienna or like a light umber. It's not like a light brown. You just apply it here a little bit, here, and yeah, it's not that, and of course under here. So when it's the same color, almost the same color everywhere, it's like a low contrast also, because in this case the hair is light and this is light too. So of course I did this drawing also. This you see like really dark shadows here, so it's pretty much like like black, you know, like from here to here there's like not much. There's a line here when I did that drawing, but I realized that here the skin tone, the shadow here, I didn't do it dark enough compared to the shadow here. So because when you see, it's pretty much the same, but I did a lighter, and because I started doing here, I don't remember if I started doing here before I did the shadow here. But anyway, I did like, I use dark gray and stuff like that, but I couldn't make it hard enough. I mean, I couldn't make it dark enough because I applied so many layers on top here. Even when I applied dark on top of it, it didn't show dark enough. So when you apply too many layers, it can affect. And then this one looks a little bit like my recent video. You have really dark here, you have really black here, and then the shadow is quite a big difference. You know, it's not that as dark as the shadow, and there's a lot of color in this shadow. You see, there's like pink, like brown and pink, and the skin tone is still visible in this. So in this you apply the skin tone, and then you apply the dark umber, dark brown, and then you mix it with the skin tone also in it. Here it's not hard because it's just almost one color. No, just some areas lighter, but it's mostly one color. Here it's a little bit darker. So I'm gonna show you some example with the drawing, with the pencil. So yeah. So here I'm gonna show you some examples of what I'm talking about. So this paper has it's just sketching paper, has a lot of texture, so might not be really good, but anyway. So I'm just gonna do from this portrait here, I'm just gonna do this part on the side of the face next to the hair, just to show you the contrast difference between the black and the shadow. Okay, so I see that there's a lot of brown in it, like in the shadow on the face. It's like either dark brown, this is dark brown, or dark umber. Both of them are close to this color. You just have to choose a color that is close enough. But I prefer to start a little bit light before. Dark brown is a little bit lighter than dark umber. So I'm just gonna apply, like if I'm applying, it's just an example, so I'm not gonna do the drawing, but I'm just applying like if I'm applying on the face. This is like the shadow on the face. Gonna make it bigger. So I'm not applying fully right now. Let me think a second. Yeah, I'm gonna apply it a little bit harder. but I'm not applying at the full pressure. I mean, you can if you want, it's just that I try to start off a bit light before, and then making it darker and darker. So then this is like the base color, you can call it, but this is like 90% warm gray, this is dark gray. So it's not as dark as black, but almost. Well, it's almost black, but it's dark enough to make this really dark. So I'm just gonna apply it on top of it. I'm not applying hard, but close enough. So now I can continue to blend it like this and press really hard, but I don't want to make it too dark. So I'm gonna mix it. I have the 50% warm gray here, so it's not as dark, but just like a neutral color just to mix it. Now I'm pressing hard to mix it, to blend it. So, okay, so I'm doing an approximation like this, but I don't know if it's the right color yet. So now I'm gonna apply the black. But normally, because this is this will be like the face, and here this will be like the hair here. The hair is in the shadow, so it's pretty much black. But normally I will start with the hair, the darkest part, with black. So, but in this case I started with this just to show you what was the difference. So I'm gonna apply black here. So you see already the difference. See that, you know, there's some contrast already. There's some contrast, but you don't want like a lower contrast than this. There we go. So that's be like the real dark shadow, and this will be like the face. So you see that there's a contrast here. On the picture, from what I see, the contrast is lower than that. There's not as much contrast on the picture. So what I need to do is darken this. But I need first to start with the junction, like the intersection between the two. Just darken this. Already you see you don't really see, like, it's not as obvious, the contrast here. And normally this will go a gradient to get lighter and lighter. I'm not gonna cover entirely with black. Some nectar here to lighten up a little bit here, but I don't do a full gradient. I just want to show you approximately. So here's what I would do approximately. So see, the contrast is really low. It's not really black, but it's close to it. So this is like, you have to notice, I mean, it's better to notice this when you see the drawing, when you see the picture. I mean, over time I start to realize really, like, okay, like I need to get that contrast good enough. Because I always realize after that, like, this portion wouldn't be dark enough, but rarely it is too dark, because normally I start lighter and then I darken it, but I always have to come back to make it darker. But if I realize it first, the contrast, then I can already make it the right shade and not having to come back after. So with this picture here, it's a little bit different. You see that it's lighter. The shade on the face is lighter than black. So I wouldn't start with the dark brown like I use here. I will start, for example, with the light umber. So it's a lighter brown. because this is what is closest to what I see on the picture, but it doesn't have to be exactly. This is what looks like it, and then the hair is in the shadow really black. So you see, so far the contrast is too high right now. It's not that, it's a lower contrast on the picture. It doesn't look that different than a picture. So I could continue and add black everywhere here, but I don't want to go too quick. I want to do it by steps, just not going too quickly in case I make it too dark. So I'm gonna use the dark gray, 90% gray, and apply it. And I don't apply it hard because it's not really dark. Already it's getting closer. And when they intersect, I need to add black to mix them, to blend them a little bit. No need to continue everywhere with the black, just in the intersection. And then I can mix it with whatever I want. I can use 50% gray here, or I can use even use seashell pink if I want to bring some a little bit of the skin tone in it. Let's say that the skin tone will be closest shell pink. I can bring it to it. Now it looks a little bit too light. I'm gonna continue with the, I'm gonna use 50% gray here. And no, this looks too light. You see, the contrast is still high. So I need to go back to the 90%. So, yeah, so this is pretty good. You see the difference from here to here. You know, it's lighter. You can make it lighter. I mean, depends of the picture. If you see that it's too dark, just use the base color that you used before, the light umber. You can apply it on top of it. Now it's a little bit lighter. So it depends what you see on the picture. And also, like I said, this applies to everywhere on the face. On this picture, like around the eyes, under the nose, under the mouth, around next to the nose, under the chin, on the neck. You're gonna mostly, in this case, I see that this works, so I'm gonna use mostly light umber for this picture, for the shadows. Except the dark, but I mean not for the picture, yeah. For this picture I'm gonna mostly use light umber, and sometimes I'm gonna use like dark brown for like darker shadows. Under the chin it's a little bit darker, like under the like yeah, under the chin it's a little bit darker, and next to the ear it's quite dark, so I'll go back to this. But for the rest of the face I will go something like this and do variations. Like it's gonna be like this, and sometimes a bit pale, a bit darker, or a bit clear, I mean a bit lighter. Depends on what I see. So it's all about gradients. Like you have to do a lot of different gradients, and it's not necessarily like a long gradient. A lot of times like a quick like a short gradient from one color to the next, but there still have to be like some kind of gradient, not really strong, but some kind of gradient, and you have to understand the contrast between the two. So I'm going to show an example of a gradient from a darker color on the shadow up to the skin tone in this picture. So you can see on this picture there like you can consider that there are many gradients everywhere. Like for example, from here to here, it goes from lighter to darker. Like you can see all these places that it goes from lighter to darker. So these are like some kind of gradients that you can understand, can practice a little bit, and just like the control that you have to do this, the control of the pencil that you have to be able to do these kind of gradients. So I'm gonna just show you an example here. So first I'm gonna start with a darker color first and work my way up a little bit lighter. So in this case I'm gonna pick these shadows that are not too dark. I mean, these shadows are not like really dark, so I'm gonna use light umber. It's not too dark, it's not like dark brown, it's not that dark. I'm gonna start here with light umber, but I'm gonna make it darker a little bit. This area will be equivalent to like the like around the eyes, next to the nose, under the chin, under the mouth. Okay. Next I'm gonna light it up. I'm gonna continue here a bit lighter. And then another color that I like to use after light umber is beige sienna, because it has like a skin tone, like close to this picture for example. It has a skin tone, and also it has a little bit, it resembles a little bit light umber, but with more skin tone in it. So that's a good like you can consider, like normally I start with the darker, it would be like dark umber, and then dark brown, then light umber, then if I want a little bit lighter, beige sienna, this one, and then I can get even lighter with the seashell pink. So I'm gonna apply some beige sienna here to mix it. You see that it mixes well, it resembles the color a little bit. So here the light umber, I'm gonna darken it up a little bit. I'm gonna make it a little bit darker. Mostly there. And then I'm gonna mix it again with light umber. it everywhere like this. And I do what I want with the gray. I mean, it depends. If I want it even darker here, I can put 90% gray here. But I don't really need it. I mean, it's just an example. Okay. So this will be like my shadow here. It's not too dark, a little bit. Then I get to a little bit lighter color. I can even continue with the here, the light umber, but just light here. Can cover it a little bit light, just so the color like transpires in this. Then with Bayesian I can go over it. Okay. And then what I will use lighter than that will be, for example, seashell pink. I use it a lot. You can see it's really small. Just do a bit light part here to blend it. So, seashell pink here. Okay, so I applied the seashell pink, and of course if you need to go lighter when there's some light spots that hits, just use white, or you can use light gray also if you want. Well, it can't really be white, it has to be mixed with the seashell pink a little bit. So yeah, so that's just an example of like for this portrait. It's not exactly the right colors necessarily. Like normally I would refine these colors to make it close to the picture. But like I said, I mean, it doesn't need to be exactly the same colors. I mean, it just need to be constant on the whole drawing. So yeah, so that's, it's not a necessarily a great grade. It's not a good gradient necessarily. I just want to show you the type of colors you use, and you know, like because you have gradients everywhere in a drawing. So just to give you an idea of how to do it. So there's another situation that happens a lot when you do a portrait with shadows. Let's say I'm just gonna do an example. I'm gonna start with shell pink. Just do like the regular skin tone. Like, I mean, like for example, if it's a place that has like medium shadows, just like doesn't really have dark shadows. It's just that color here, or it could be light, but I mean, you just want to add shadows to a certain place. You're gonna see what I mean. Right now, like I would be covering the face like this, for example, I did this in my previous drawing, cover the face like this, but I'll show you what I mean. I'm pressing really hard to really apply it on the paper. Okay. So in this case, for example, you have a place that is like around the nose or under the mouth, or the bags under the eyes, like this, for example. It's not too dark, but there is a line. You can see that there's a line. But then from here, it's gonna be darker here. I mean, I know I didn't put the eye on the right side, but anyway. Let's say that the eye starts here. I'm doing just a rough thing. No, it shouldn't be the other way, but anyway. Dark brown here, normally there's some shadows under. So I'm using light umber here. But then there's some really light shadows that continue down the face here. So what I like to do is, instead of continue with the light umber, I could continue it a little bit. But normally I use like I showed you, I use a beige sienna that is a little bit lighter to light umber. Then I apply it. But you see the difference from seashell pink to beige sienna. There's not a big difference. You see, you can really make like a small light shadow like this. And this happens a lot. You just have to mix it on top of it. You can mix it with the color underneath the seashell pink here. You can mix it like this. You can blend it like that. But normally it starts a little bit darker here, so I'm gonna apply more of the light umber on top. Then beige sienna. So you see here I create a light shadow. You can see that there's a difference with the seashell pink underneath. Beige sienna is really nice for this kind of shadows. And if you want to accentuate, I mean, it's not really noticeable here, but on a drawing you will really notice the difference. But if you want to add more contrast, you can just add some white here. If you see that there's not enough contrast. Just a small example to show you the kind of shadows that you encounter these a lot. Like, you just have to do like a light shadow. Sometimes it's just something like this. Like, you can barely see it right now. Like from here to here, you can barely see, but I mean, it really does a difference in the drawing. And I start like this, and if I see that it's darker, just apply more shadow here if it's darker here, and blend it. Shell pink, and now it's too dark. No, so it's not well done, but I mean, it's just light shadows that you apply on top of a lighter color. That makes a lot of difference in some places. Because you don't always need to have really like dark shadows like this. Sometimes it's really just a little bit. So in my previous video you can see this a lot, that I did this kind of many times. Yeah. So yeah guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and see you on the next video. Bye bye.